Hello and welcome to Our Cottage Garden. If you're new here, my name is Anna Fable, and my husband and I moved to this little cottage in the woods in the Northeast in New England several years ago, and we've built a cottage garden, and it's sort of like the cozy, quaint little cottage garden of our dreams. You all have been asking so many amazing questions on our videos, so we figured we would take today to just answer a few of those questions. My husband is sitting right behind you, and he picked out a few questions. And so I haven't seen any of these, and I'm excited just to kind of connect with you in this way. If you have any more questions for an upcoming video, feel free to leave those down below in the comments. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so this one is on the early June cottage garden tour. And the question is from Floral Fawn. I love that name. Would you ever consider doing a garden-themed Q&A video? I have considered it. Your garden tours are my absolute favorite, and I dream of having a garden even half as beautiful as yours. Oh, would love to hear more of your wisdom and experience. That's very, very kind. Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here. Cool. Yes, I would, and we are doing it now. Please ask any more questions, Floral Fawn. Okay, next question is from Ted Farmer 8510. Quick question. I noticed a pretty miniature tree / shrub right beside your large pink foxglove. I love it. What is that? Large pink foxglove, a miniature tree or shrub. So we had a few. Oh, that's probably the boxwood. We have a boxwood pillar that was right beside that. I think it was like the largest, the tallest of our pink foxgloves in that video. That's it's a boxwood pillar, and the variety I'm not entirely sure of. We got it at a nursery state over. Okay, same video. Love your dress. Do you happen to have a link to it? I don't have a link to this dress. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I got that one. It was like a sort of a light blue and white toile little summer dress, very light and nice for the garden, so I'm sorry that I don't have a link for that, but it is just like a linen dress. ThreadUp is a great place to get a lot of stuff, and you can search easily on there too. Then our next question is from the Whimsical spring container for our shady spot. So this was the Miyazaki-inspired container. And this is from Helen Habel, 1773. How long have you been gardening? You're so knowledgeable. Where did you learn? So I've been gardening for about 6 years. So not terribly long. I didn't grow up in a family of gardeners, but my Nana was a very strong gardener. She was a wonderful gardener. Martha May. I love my Nana quite a bit. She was a wonderful woman. And she had a beautiful garden in Washington State. Really beautiful, lots of dahlias, lots of roses. She had a Japanese garden, which was really beautiful. And my husband really loves Japanese gardens. So eventually our plan is to definitely have a Japanese garden somewhere on the property. We both are, love to meditate and things like that. So having a little space for us to meditate, maybe a little water feature bubbling away. But where did I learn? So basically back, I think this was in like 2017 or something like that, we started a little vegetable bed we were just living in an apartment, and we started that on the balcony of our apartment and just kind of went from there. I had been collecting houseplants for a really long time, so that was kind of my introduction to it, and done a lot of propagating with houseplants, and I just loved learning about the houseplant propagation, learning about how plants can just the requirements that they like. That was sort of my into it. So we finally moved out of our apartments that I'd been living in apartments for a very, very long time. And then we moved into a little house. It wasn't our house, we didn't buy it, but we moved into a little house that had a really nice garden. And so that was really where I started to cut my teeth on gardening and learn how to do it all through trial and error. I met a wonderful woman who I lived next door to, and she had a beautiful succulent garden. And she and I, during COVID, we got pretty close, and she was maybe in her 70s, and we would both wear masks and stay really far away from each other, but we decided to plant up. There was an area on the sidewalk in front of our two houses that was just like all weeds and overgrown. And so we decided to plant those up with plants, propagating her succulents and then planting seeds in that area. And that was really how we both learned, or that's how we both learned. Bert and I learned about gardening, but specifically, that was really where I learned a lot about gardening. And I started just reading books. I read books about permaculture. I read books about, I think Gaia's Garden is one of them, I think it was called. I read books about gardening in specific areas. I read Monty Don's books from Gardener's World. I watched Gardener's World weekly, and then when it wasn't on seasonally, I would just watch those on replay. And then I started finding gardening channels on YouTube and watching those, and was just really, really inspired and just learned so much. So that was really how I kind of learned, but it was really through trial and error and experimenting. Really, one thing that I've really enjoyed doing is sort of seeing what the rules are and seeing how you can kind of twist them or test them or something like that. Then I moved to a place in Northern California. There was no garden. It was just a side yard. The hummingbird just came by. Just a little side yard that had trash and weeds and all this kind of stuff. And so I asked if I could just plant a few plants, and then I turned it into this huge, like, just explosion of color and tons of plants. And so that was really, really fun. And then that gave me confidence moving here to really explore a little bit further. So that's a long winding story just to explain how long I've been gardening and where I learned. Then someone said on the cottage garden tour from last September, that was actually uploaded in the wintertime, what was the name of the blue salvia near the beginning of the video? So Play in the Blues Salvia. It's Rockin' Play in the Blues Salvia by Proven Winners. And it's that one is such an incredible pollinator attractor. And they turn into shrubs, My husband was commenting on it the other day, just saying, I can't believe that these are just annuals. They look not only like perennials, but they look like actual shrubs. They get so enormous and they just bulk up so beautifully. The color is gorgeous. They just always look healthy, and the pollinators are crazy about them. He was saying, like, I really think we've done wonderful things for the pollinator population here. And it's like, it really is crazy how many bumblebees there were when we first moved in, very few. Then last year it was still sort of a novelty seeing bumblebees. It was like, oh wow, look, a bumblebee. Now it's just like, you can't gesticulate a hand without hitting a bumblebee. So the next question is from Emmett8242. Your garden looks gorgeous. Thank you. I also have a problem with slugs. I'm thinking about planting plants that they eat less. May I please ask you which plants are less eaten by the slugs here? Thank you for sharing your garden with us. Of course, yes. It's my pleasure. I love just walking around in the garden. It's also something that in the wintertime, because we have such long winters, one of the things was I would film before uploading here on YouTube, I would film like garden tours, just me and my husband just sort of walking around, just kind of talking about the plants and stuff like that, just so that in the wintertime I could remember what was going on. So when I'm making my plans for what we're going to do the following year, I would have an idea of where everything was. And also when I would just get really sad after like the 7th month of gray skies, sun setting at 3 p.m. and just, how it is in wintertime, I would just look at all the color and it would give me hope to move forward. So, but yeah, it is a real pleasure to walk around with you in the garden. So in terms of slugs, the things that I've noticed that the slugs leave alone, it really does depend year to year. Things like the pulmonaria, the lungwort, the slugs have left alone. Ferns, plant ferns. The hostas were really badly eaten last year. If you have a shadier spot where you want to plant a hosta, putting a lungwort there, which has those kind of, they're not mirrored in those big heart-shaped leaves, but it is a wider, broader leaf. And so you could have that next to a fern, and that would be a really nice combination that's usually pretty resistant to the slugs. I won't say like slug proof, because you never know with those little guys. They're so stubborn. They'll do whatever they want. What other ones would be good? I think as far as annuals go, honestly, our sun patience have not been touched at all. The double impatiens have not been touched at all. So we have the Rockapulco wisteria double impatient. That one is so gorgeous. We were just talking about how we want to put that in the front of more of our borders next year. Just gorgeous. The sun patience, I think that one is purple. And then the Brawalia they leave alone. Other perennials that you might look into, especially, I'm talking about shade lovers particularly because I'm in the shade garden, but that they would really love it. Astilbes are great. They do not get messed with in terms of the slugs. They're really fantastic. If you wanted a longer blooming season for something, I would maybe do something a little bit different than that. But not a lot of shade loving plants bloom for very long anyway, unless they're annuals. If you're in an area that can handle roses, where you don't have things that want to eat your roses all the time, I haven't noticed any slugs on the roses, so that's something. Lots of caterpillars on the roses, lots of Japanese beetles on the roses. But if you don't have any, if you're not, don't have issues with those two things, then you could definitely do roses. Sedums, sunlovers, sedums, nepeta, Russian sage would all be fantastic. The slugs don't mess with those in our garden at all. Okay, so this was on the kale video. Best kale recipes for when you have a glut of kale. I love this video. I love this video. Okay, so this is from Snapshot 1386. Wow, very exciting to see the different kales that are available. Now I want to grow these next summer. Love, love, love this video. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. Being vegan for several years now has been so much fun. Oh, that's awesome. It lets me experiment with cooking and baking again. Absolutely. That is exactly what I found. And even my cousin who's a chef, whenever I go and visit him, he's not vegan, but he always makes the most elaborate, like incredible meals. He's just so talented and creative. And he's a professional chef. So, but he's just incredible with that. But he made these like pillowy bao buns with this Korean like sauce. It was just incredible. We still talk about that. He's just such a talented chef. And he was saying that cooking vegan is so exciting because you're having to think in a different way and you're having to be creative in a new way. So I thought that was really fun. So agreed. It is a fun way of cooking. That dip was to die for. It was so good. Have you planted any butternut squash, pumpkins, or acorns? Acorn squash. It's a fruit I'm still trying to use in various recipes. Also, do you have any ideas on mixing fresh herbs to make salad dressings? I tried some mixes, but it was a hit and miss. Definitely looking forward to more recipes. Thanks for sharing. Oh, there's so many good questions in here. So yeah, the dip that we made was a kale and artichoke dip. So it was sort of a take on that spinach and artichoke dip, but a vegan version with cashews, coconut cream, and it was just really delicious. Fresh kale from the garden, lacinato, and curly kale. We didn't use any of the purple kale from in here, but it is looking gorgeous right now. I can't wait for the next tour that we do because the purple kale is finally doing what I wanted it to do, providing that real structure. And really it's gotten to that point in the season where it's deep purple, which looks beautiful with all of our cottage garden colors. Purple, pink, white, cream. Beautiful. So that dip was delicious. Have I planted any butternut squash? So we have some yellow summer squash that we have been using in roasted vegetables with couscous or quinoa or something like that usually. Really lovely. We have pumpkins that are going. We have some cinnamon girl pumpkins. I wanted to do a pumpkin that was a really short season pumpkin so that we'd be able to get it because our seasons are so short. And so those are starting to turn orange, which is really exciting. We've never gotten a full pumpkin. And we have some little baby boo pumpkins, which are the little miniature white ones. Those are really nice. And then in terms of acorn squash, we did grow some, but they have not been bearing any fruit, so we'll see. But we do have tons and tons of acorns here. And I would love to do something with acorns. I don't know if that's making an acorn wreath. I don't know if that's making some kind of acorn dish. I don't know what it's going to be, but I want to do something with all this acorn and go and forage for acorns in our yard. Do I have any ideas for mixing fresh herbs to make the salad dressing? So kind of suggestions for making the salad dressing. This is a tough one. I am such an intuitive cook that it's like when my husband asks me like, how do you make that dressing? Or how do you make that thing that I love? I'm always like, I don't know, you just taste it, add more, take some out, Ratatouille it, exactly. So that's a tough one. Let me see. I would suggest, number one, to slice all of your herbs, chop them up really fine. So make sure they're really small. And then start with a little bit of each one. And I would say you pick a main kind of flavor that you want in there. So let's say you're doing something that you want to feel a little bit more Italian. You could add a little bit more of your basil or your oregano if you wanted to do something a little bit more, maybe Mediterranean. Maybe you're making some sort of Greek or a Middle Eastern dish, then I would maybe go more kind of parsley, cilantro kind of vibes, and then just add things on from there that you think might pair nicely with it. And you can smell just to kind of, smell what you've got so far, smell something else and see if that's what you want to add in. But yeah, I'm sure that, you can probably find a balance, recipes for how to do a really nice herbal dressing, but I would just slice them really, really thin and then add them slowly and taste as you go. That's my suggestion. And then the thing to just consider is when you're making a salad dressing, you don't always think to add a little bit of sugar, but adding some sugar can be really helpful, whether that's in the form of something like agave syrup. You could add maple syrup to it, especially if you wanted to do something like a honey mustard kind of dressing with a little bit of some kind of herbal addition in there. But yeah, I think that could be, maybe I'll make a video about it. Let me know if you'd like me to do that, about making salad dressings. Okay, so the next one is on the kitchen garden tour. So this is our veggie patch, and this is from Jordana. Anna, how do you know all of the names of the vegetables and flowers? I love when Georgie follows you like a shadow, like my little Bella Pomeranian. Oh, sweet. Yeah, your little profile picture is so unbelievably cute of your little Bella. Georgie is amazing. I'm gonna make a video about Georgie because she's just the most incredible. She's just so lovely. And yeah, she is our little shadow. We call her that all the time. So then the question was, how do I know all the names of the vegetables and flowers? I think just because it's my passion. It's something I'm really, really passionate about. I'm always thinking about what to plant, how things are doing, checking in on things. It's like, going around and you're sort of the mayor of your little town of plants. And you have to kind of go around and make sure everything's, getting along with each other and step in when you need to make sure things are going okay. So I think that's really how it is. It's just like constant familiarization with everything and being outside all the time, being outside as much as we can, just being in nature, being outside, going to the vegetable patch. It's just such a joy for us. When we're over there, or even when we're outside, we just can't stop smiling. Just like, oh, look at everything, wow. But yeah, over in the vegetable patch, especially because, I grew all those from seed and I grew them starting in the dead of winter. So it's been we've had a long relationship with those ones. And so that's really how it's really easy for me, because there's so many steps in that process. You plant the seed, you have to pot them on, you have to water them every single, couple times a day. And then you have to, plant them out, nurture them. It's just like you have a long relationship with those little guys. So yeah. Okay, so next up is on the garden harvest from last season. And this is from Kristen Brannon. And the question is, the dress in the beginning of this video, where did you get it? I love it. So this, I think it was just the dress I was wearing for the whole video. It's just a dress that I got at ThredUp. This isn't sponsored, that's funny. But yeah, this is, obviously it's not sponsored, or you would know that. But yeah, it's just from ThredUp. I love getting clothes from there. It's like you can go secondhand shopping, but without having to go to leave your home. But yeah, I got that one at ThredUp. It's really comfortable and really perfect. Again, I really love wearing dresses in the garden because they're just so easy. I love wearing aprons. If you have a dress with pockets, it's so nice because there's always just things you're gonna need to store while you're in the garden. So yeah.
Just so you know, pretty much every video somebody asks where you got your dress.
Oh really? That's sweet. Oh, thank you. Okay, Ted Farmer. This is on the This Might Be Too Much video. Dramatic title. Just stumbled upon your gardening videos, just dreamy. Oh, so sweet. My question is, what were all the bugs crawling around in the compost that you put on your garden patch? It looked like you were planting lettuce. Okay, so those are probably centipedes. A lot of centipedes. Those help with the compost, the decomposition process. And those do not eat our plants. The only things that they eat are things that are already decomposing. So we'll see them on something that something else has started eating. So if, like, for example, the flowers from the cucurbits, the zucchini flowers or something like that, in the rain, they start to kind of fall apart. We'll see centipedes in there. They don't bother us. They don't bother the garden. They really help with the compost. So thus far, they haven't been a problem, but they might look a little bit creepy, but they're really nice. I have no problem with them. Okay, so this is from the same video, and this is from J.M. Rosebranch. What a great name. Could you do a video discussing how you harden your seedlings as well as how your compost system works? I live in a cold climate with a short growing season, and I feel like I miss my window to do these things every year and just have to buy starts and compost from the garden store. Your advice would be amazing. Fantastic. Yeah, I would love to do that. I think the easiest way for me to do that would probably be next season when I'm doing that, just to sort of show you that process, what that process is like. So It is a tricky process. You know, it's hard on you to remember. It's kind of a little bit hard on the body. Usually in May, both of us are like, we have such sore backs just from working in the garden so much. And it's because I like to set up a little station, listen to a little like gardening podcast and do all my planting. But there's a lot of like the turning and stuff like that. And then when you're planting, you're down on the ground and doing a lot of turning, and that trunk twisting movement is kind of tough on the back. So number one advice would be do some stretches that time of year and really make sure your body feels good before you start doing that. Keep it on a small scale if you're able to, as much as possible, and try to, some things I've realized are really helpful, like planting things that grow very quickly, morning glories, cucumbers, zucchini, any of your squash, pumpkins, things like that are going to grow very, very rapidly and that are going to need to be moved up pretty often. Start those in larger containers, but just make sure they're really nice and well drained so they don't get waterlogged. So you can add things like perlite or grit, or you could add vermiculite to your potting mix and make sure that it's a potting mix and not a soil, so it's not super compact when you start planting. But in terms of you're just talking about hardening the seedlings off. So what I do is, this year my husband built a little cold frame for us, and so we just put them out in sort of shifts. We started putting them out. We started by putting them on the porch, especially in sunny days, and then we would bring them inside, and I have to sort of give over to the fact that basically April through June is just going to be kind of a mess in the house and the garden and everywhere. It's just a little bit of a mess. And that is why one of the videos, or several of the videos that we filmed in May, actually never got up, and we're going to be uploading them later on because it's just such a crazy time of year. But yeah, I would definitely suggest finding an area, having an area where you can do it. Find things that can be used as trays. We've used old kind of baking trays and things like that, like recycled, or things that we found at tag sales and stuff like that. Just old baking trays that you can use to transport your seedlings because you're going to be moving them a lot. Putting them in a cold frame, that's a great way of doing it, making sure that it's staying nice and warm if you want to put it up next to your house. Or just ensure that it's in a protected area. If you live in a really cold climate like we do here, just make sure that, yeah, you do live in a cold climate. So just make sure that it's in a protected area, your little cold frame. Then as far as the compost goes, I think I want Bert to do a whole video about the compost. So he's worked really hard to make sure our compost was really, really great. And it was so good this year. So would you be willing to do that? Yeah, okay. Maybe we can make one together. But yeah, as far as the compost goes, it's just about getting that balance right and having patience. Those are the two things that I would say. The balance right and having patience. This is one more question on the same video. Just beautiful. Can't wait to see more. Do you guys water all by hand? Yes, we do water by hand. We used to water all with a watering can and a bucket, walking all the way over there with buckets, and then having to come all the way back, filling the buckets and walking all the way over there. And by over there, I mean over to our vegetable patch, which is a trek. And it's like you walk through the woods all the way over there. Like, it is a bit of a trek. And we did that for a whole season. I can't believe we did that. But the thing is that now we have a hose that goes over there. We got like a long hose that goes over there. We really don't have to water that much. It really is just right when we plant our seedlings. And after that, we get a lot of rain here. And then we get a lot of snow in the winter. So we really don't have to water much, to be honest. It's very, very minimal. But we do water by hand. We don't have a drip system set up or anything like that. Okay, well, I think that's it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me. It's just so peaceful out here. The temperature is just so, so nice. Just very relaxing. I don't know if you can hear all the birds and all the bees and everything, but very, very peaceful. So thank you for joining me. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Leave those down below, and I'll talk to you again very soon. Like if you like, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you again in the next one.